All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode
Another
of
one.
Marriage Matters. So this is a show where we talk about marriage matters because
Marriage matters.
yes, it does. It matters. It matters.
It matters.
Yep. So how are you doing this week?
I'm good.
Looking
I'm really
good.
good.
Looking
Thank
good.
You.
You're beautiful
Thank
as
you.
always. You know.
Thank you.
So I've been blessed. I will admit. Thank you. Thank you, God.
You're so sweet.
Thank you, God. You know. So. Did we tell the people who we were?
No, we did not introduce ourselves.
Oh, my bad. Look,
so.
I was smitten by your beauty, and I forgot myself.
All right.
So my name is Glenn Coleman, and this is my beautiful wife,
Tanya Coleman.
Yep, and we're your host today for Marriage Matters.
We're your host every day.
We
for
are
Marriage
your hosts
Matters.
every day for Marriage Matters. Maybe we'll have some guest hosts. We'll take a vacation or
All
something.
right. Okay. We can do that.
Anyway, I digress. So today we're going to be talking about how can I forgive? And the reason why I said it like that is because, there are some times where, things may happen in your marriage to where, you just don't know how to move forward from that. You don't know how to release it. You don't know how to, or you don't think that you have the ability to move past unforgiveness, or this offense or this thing that your spouse may have done. So I want to talk about that today and maybe help you and give you some tools that'll help you to move past some of those obstacles.
That's good. That's good. I think it's definitely a needed conversation because oftentimes people can say, I let it go, but it's still resonating back here. And so when the next offense or disappointment happens, then they start bringing up all of the other things that they've kind of tucked away and quote unquote let go when they actually haven't let go. So I think how to forgive is really important.
Yeah, and I think it's a lost art. It's a lost art. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing I want to say is that forgiveness or apologizing is not a sign of weakness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not that when you forgive someone, it's not that you are saying that person was right.
Right.
I know a lot of people choose not to forgive because they believe that they were wronged. That they, I was the one that was right. They were the one. He or she was the one that made the mistake.
Right.
So I am not going to forgive them because I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Why should I forgive? I didn't do anything. And I've heard people say that. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Why should I forgive? But when you forgive someone or apologize to someone, that's not saying that what they did was right.
Correct.
It's not, and it's not saying that you agree with what they did or you think what they did was okay. What forgiveness is, it's just the initial. Think of forgiveness as releasing. And it's not just releasing that person, but it's releasing. It's like offense is like something that you hold on to.
Right.
And it's something, and it's like you can't. It's like, think of this as your heart. And it's like a lot of times I think what happens is, we have our heart open, but then someone comes along and for whatever reason, they hurt our heart or they break our heart. And so what a broken heart looks like is this. It's closed off.
Yeah.
And it's a defense mechanism. And what you're saying is, I'll never, ever, ever let anybody hurt me that way again.
Right.
I'll never let anybody treat me that way again. But the only bad thing about that is now you're closed off for really ever experiencing, not just giving love, but experiencing love again. So that's the first thing I want you to know is that it's not that you're saying that person is right or wrong. It's not that. It's saying I'm opening up back up and I'm willing to now work through to get healing in this instance.
I'm willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'm willing to put those things behind me so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
You know, when you said that, you know, oftentimes people close up, you know, when they've been hurt because they're refusing to let anyone hurt them that way again. The thing is that innately we've been built, you know, by God for companionship. We've been built by God for fellowship. So when I close myself off from receiving the very things that I have been built for, then that begins to deplete away at my soul. You know, that depletes away at my mind and my emotions. And then I'm dealing with all other sorts of things. I'm dealing with anxieties and depressions and all of these things because I have closed myself off.
Yeah.
But then I have this desire also to be in communion with people, and I find myself getting into unhealthy relationships with people because I'm trying to have that need met, but trying not to get hurt at the same time.
And you know, the other bad part about that is that I find that a lot of times we still haven't forgiven people from past hurts and previous relationships. And so, you know, you find this a lot of times when people have been divorced, and especially when there's infidelity played a part or a role in that divorce. What'll happen is now, because I'm closed off, and again, it's just this. It's that flight or fight. Did I say that right? Flight or fight. It's like it's a mechanism that it's self-preservation. But what happens is now, you know, your spouse now has to pay the cost of someone else's mistakes. And so now when your spouse tries to connect with you on that intimate emotional level, they can't get to that place because you are now you've walled that part of your heart off, and you're saying, nope, you can't come in here because the last time I let somebody in here, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like when you were growing up and, you know, you had that living room, you know. So growing up, we had in our house, we had a den, but then we had a living room. Right. And the living room was this room where there was furniture, all of the nice stuff was in that room. You hardly ever went in that. The only time we went in that room was for courting. When we would court, you know what I'm saying? Right. Some of you young people don't know what that is. But court, you know, be court.
When you have your little company over.
But a lot now, my mom didn't do this, you know. But I've been to a lot of people's houses in their living room. They're good furniture. It had that plastic on it.
Still had the plastic on there,
Had the plastic on it. Because what they were doing was trying to what?
Trying to preserve it.
And preserve the furniture. But that made the furniture, it made that room so uncomfortable. You can't relax with the plastic on the so, and it's just like that in our relationship sometimes. We got the plastic on. And so those around us can't get comfortable. They can't settle down into the relationship. They can't really they can't love us the way you deserve. And here's the deal: you deserve to be loved this way, but you can't because you got the plastic on because of unforgiveness. So it's not saying that you are right. It's not saying that you are that person was wrong. That person was right. It's just simply saying that I release. So the other side of that though is that perception is reality. And what I mean by that is sometimes we feel like, well, I don't have to apologize because I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong. Well, you can't, if I always say this, is that, Tanya taught me this. Because I was so, it's like, you know, your emotions don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. And if people say stuff like, feelings are fickle. You know, we have all these sayings. Fickle feelings and all this stuff. But she used to always tell me, if you're feeling that way, you're feeling that way for a reason. Right? And so I can't tell Tanya how to feel about something. You know, if I do something that, and that's why, you know, the Bible even talks about this. It says something to the effect of, you know, if eating meat offends your brother, then don't eat it in front of him. It didn't tell you not to eat it. But don't eat it in front of. And so in other words, what he's saying is, I can't tell you how to feel. I can't tell you. So I have to understand that perception is reality. So if Tanya perceived what I did as an offense, then I have to apologize. Now, again, going back to our previous point,
Right.
I'm not saying that she's right. I'm not saying that she's wrong. I'm just recognizing that I offended her.
I see that as taking the position of humility first. And so I say this all the time that, people often take humility as weakness, and we don't recognize that there is such great strength in a humble person and a person who can humble themselves first.
Yeah.
Because that means that I have control over those feelings. I have control over those emotions, that I am willing to serve and to lead by serving because I'm going to choose to do it first. And so that takes a lot of inner strength for a person that is willing and able to do that. Sometimes we see strength as the reverse, that, if I tell you what's on my mind and then I tell, I don't forgive, or I'm going to show you, I'm going to do all this, that I'm showing you how big and strong I am. But in reality, to humble yourself first, and to show that forgiveness, and to maybe even apologize when you absolutely feel right, but you still choose to apologize for the sake of repairing the breach, then you are leading by example.
Yeah. And I think, that sounds something like, I am sorry if what I did offended you.
Exactly.
And I'm truly sorry. And if it offends you, then we need to talk about it. And maybe I need to look at not doing that again.
Right.
Because again, it's about, we talked about it in our last podcast about complimenting, and what I tell people a lot, when it comes to this is, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be healed?
That's so
Do you
good.
want to be right, or do you want a healthy marriage?
Right.
Because I think so often we get so caught up on, I'm right, or
You feel justified.
So if you're right and lonely, or if you're right and divorced,
well,
what's the ultimate goal here? So you could be right paying child support and alimony, or you can walk in humility, like Tanya said, and admit that even though maybe I didn't see it as an issue, obviously what I did offended you. And you know what? I'm sorry for that.
Yep.
And you know what? If that offends you, again, it's not just about me anymore.
Right.
It's about us. And if that offends you, then I'm going to do the work that I have to do to get past that. Or maybe I'm going to help you do the work that brings you over to my side, if you will, to say, this is not what it seems. Or you got what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you talked about for doing it for the sake of the marriage, that oftentimes we are so strong in our stance, and that, I need for you to see me right. Well, like Glenn said, do you want to be right and alone, or are you willing to humble yourself?
All by yourself.
All by yourself. To humble yourself and come to a resolve with your spouse. We always have to remember that we are two people working to become one. We become one. Yes. When we say I do at the altar, I believe with everything inside of me that in the spirit, God makes us one spiritually, but man, that mind has to be renewed daily. And so we have to work at that part. There's an exchange that happens, and there is nothing that will reveal to you your true self and the things that you need to work on and get rid of. There is no relationship on earth like marriage that does that for you.
Yeah.
It will purify you, so to speak, if you allow it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'll move on. So the next thing I want to talk about is that the person who was offended. So if Tanya does something that offends me, and I need for her to apologize or ask for forgiveness or whatever have you, I have to sometimes that she may not ask for forgiveness or apologize or forgive. So she may not apologize to me because she didn't know I offended her.
Right.
Or she offended. Wait, She may not know that she offended me.
Right.
Okay.
We got it. We got it. Right. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. And so in that case, then sometimes you have to let your spouse know that you offended me. That hurt my feelings, or that I didn't like the way you said that, or when you said this, or, and then, as the person who did the offending, you have to be open to that, so I can't expect Tanya to forgive something she did, or to apologize for something she didn't know she did wrong.
Absolutely. And sometimes I think we hold that back even. It's just like, I'm not telling him nothing. He needs to know. He should have known. He shouldn't have said that like that, or should have done this, or should have done that. I'm not saying anything to him, and I see that, as aggression in a sense. You may not be saying it outwardly, but it is a way of being aggressive, because you're saying, I'm refusing to communicate to him how he hurt me or how he offended me. And so I'm just going to sit back and be mad. And what's wrong? Yeah. Nothing.
And the thing about that is, now you don't give that person an opportunity to make your life better. Yes. So now you're going to just go through life with that offense closed off from that person. And it's like you're the one. And here's the crazy part. Sometimes your spouse is living their life, but you're the one who is living in frustration, right? Because you're holding on to that grudge. But you have to be open and honest with your spouse and let them know that, hey, when you did that, or when you said it like that, or when you said that, and then here's the other thing about that. Sometimes when you do that, then it's like I said earlier, now your spouse can come and help you heal, because sometimes maybe the thing that offended you maybe is not even worth the offense.
Sure. Absolutely.
So it helps you to look at yourself to say, should I really be upset about that?
Why did I see that like that? Why did I see that behavior the way that I saw it? Why was that my perspective? Yeah. Why did I hear what he said the way that I heard it? See, that's when I have to do my self-assessing, and I have to say, okay, why is my viewpoint skewed? Yeah. And remember to go back to your spouse's heart. Like, their heart. Like, would he have said that to me to offend me that way? Would he or she have done that? I mean, you have some cases where, yeah, that may be the case, but, we have to ask ourselves, is that the case in this situation? Yeah. And if that is the case, then that means that you guys need to get to the table with another couple to help you process through what's going on. If it is that your spouse is offending you on purpose, and then you are offending them back, or you are putting up those walls, then get some help. Get some people to walk through those situations with you.
And so the other thing I wanna just say, is once you're going through forgiveness and you've come to that place to where you realize that you do need to apologize. A verbal apology without the action to back it up. Yes. I don't know if that's a true apology. To ask for forgiveness, but you're going to keep along that same, that's just, you're trying to be, we talked about this a couple of episodes back, you're trying to be a peacemaker. Yeah. And not, a peacekeeper and not a peacemaker. Yeah. In other words, I'm saying I'm sorry just to keep the peace.
To shut you up.
I just want to hear it. I'm sorry. Okay, golly. Golly, I'm sorry. You have to, the action, people say actions speak louder than words. So if I'm going to apologize, if I'm going to walk in forgiveness, then my actions have to back that up.
Absolutely.
Have to back that up. And then I'll say this last thing, and then we'll do we'll stop and do our ad. But forgiveness is not trust. So just because I forgive you doesn't mean I automatically trust you. Trust is something that is built. I've heard it Jimmy Evans, he said this. It's like trust is like a water full of bucket. I mean, a water full of bucket.
So good.
A bucket full of water.
Yeah.
He said that, and water is that trust. He said, and once that bucket gets knocked over and all the water runs out, you can't just
expect there
replenish
to be
the water.
Yeah.
You have to refill the bucket. And that's what trust is. And so I think a lot of times, there's some steps that you're going to have to take. There's some things that you're going to have to endure to ensure that you allow the trust to be rebuilt. There's some, you're going to have to there's some reassuring and I mean, you want to get to the place to where you can forgive and trust, but unfortunately, a lot of times we're not built that way. And so you have to allow time for that trust to be rebuilt. I've heard another person say that trust is like a wall. And once that wall gets knocked down, it has to be rebuilt brick by brick.
Absolutely.
So yes, so forgiveness, look at forgiveness. It's the initiation of the process of restoring the relationship.
That's good.
That's good. So you can't build trust as long as you're holding on to that grudge. You can't build trust as long as you're holding on to that thing. But it's when you open up and you allow that person back into your heart. So now I'm giving this to you, and the longer, or I'm saying, every time you do something that helps to heal that hurt, you're building that trust.
Absolutely.
That you're building it. Whenever there's infidelity, if there's and I call and let you know I'm going to be running a little late, or when I leave my phone unlocked and I don't, you have permission to get into my phone, whatever that is for you. Trust is not forgiveness, and forgiveness is not trust. So don't if you're the person who did the offending, in other words, I did something to offend Tanya, I have to be patient with Tanya and understand and realize that it's going to take her some time to trust me again.
Right. And however long that time is, that's how long it's going to take. Yeah. Because we often, and I'm sorry I cut you off.
You sure did. Just cut a brother off, man. I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Because if I don't say it, I'm going to forget because you're going to keep talking.
I hope I don't forget. Go ahead. I'm going to try to remember.
As I was saying that, however long that takes, because one, depending on the depth of the offense, what happened within the marriage, also depending on your spouse's the level of trauma that was impacted on them, that level of trauma that they received. And we all receive things differently. So what may be traumatic to one person may not be traumatic to another person. So you have to realize that just because you do what you're supposed to do for a month, does not mean that he or she will be completely over that thing. They are working to forgive. And so you are also working to walk in that level of trust, and they're working to trust again. That's what I meant to say, because I think of it as a body that's malnourished. If you think of an infant or an elderly person that's malnourished and they have not been getting the nutrients that they need. I remember, with my grandfather one time before he passed away, he had gotten really, sick and had gotten small. And so once we had people to come into the house to help care for him, feeding him soup, and we were giving him, different drinks and shakes to help build that nourishment back up again. And after a while, those little cheeks that were indented began to fluff up again. So you have to give that relationship time to suck the nourishment that it needs out of those bricks of trust that you're building. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I apologize again for cutting you off, sir. Go ahead.
I can go now?
You can go now.
But what I was going to say is to the person, the offendee. Is that right? The person who was offended. Yes, it's going to take time, but it don't have to take forever.
Absolutely.
So you have to actively do the work of rebuilding trust, of
trusting again,
and you can't just keep holding that thing over that person's head.
Right. Don't keep punishing them.
You can't keep bringing that back up, because what you're doing is every time you bring it up, not only are you you solidifying that offense in yourself, but you're also crushing the other person. And you're saying everything that you're doing to reestablish trust is like, it doesn't even matter. It goes off the way out the window. And so it's like every time you bring that thing up, and it's like you have to almost start over again.
Yeah.
So
I see that as not punishing. I forgot what I wanted to say. Never mind.
And you cut me off and you
I
still
cut
forgot.
you off. My bad.
But no, so one of the things is that to help each other get through that situation is understand that, look, we're all broken and we're all working through our brokenness. And we always sometimes we make mistakes. We make decisions out of our brokenness. And so who am I to harp on you because you made the mistake out of your brokenness?
Right.
When I'm broken too. And sometimes I do stupid things, because I'm trying to live out and work on my brokenness as well. So we have to understand I say it's the why people do. Why did they do that?
There you go.
So if you can really get to why and understand why your spouse did the thing that they did, it's going to really help you it's going to help you process through the forgiveness and give you the ability to forgive. There's a situation in my life I'm thinking of right now to where, everybody who talks to me about the situation is like, this person is wrong and they know better and blah, 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 blah. And for so long I was on that bandwagon. I can't believe they did that. And I can't believe they acted that way. And I can't believe they did. And they should know better and blah, blah, blah. But then I realized, wait a minute. If they're acting that way, that means that they're hurting. And so if somebody can help that person address the hurt in their life, it'll change their actions over here. I always say this, that I believe with all my heart that God does not make bad people, that people make bad people and circumstances make bad people. So if a person is doing that, then we need to learn to look past what they're doing, their actions. I like to look at it as the iceberg, right? We're trying to change the iceberg at the top.
Right.
You can't change it. That's just the result. You have to go down to the root of it. You have to get down to the root. And if you change it there, it'll change
Absolutely.
Right. So,
yeah.
Yep. Add.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will add. That you like add something. No, let's talk about our ad. So we would like to say thank you to our partner, Goalie Nutrition, the world's first apple cider vinegar gummies. These gummies, y'all, they taste delicious. It is like literally chewing candy. But they give you all of the benefits of apple cider vinegar. I know a lot of you may take the apple cider vinegar shots. We did it for years, and every once in a while I still will. But these vitamins, they give you all of the same benefits. Now you can get the amazing benefits of ACV without that so amazing taste. So amazing taste. Sorry. 2 gummies equals 1 shot of ACV. For 5% off your order, go to go.goli.com/marriage matters, and you will receive 5% off of your order. Use promo code marriage matters typed all together for 5% off of your order. Goalie Nutrition is an inventive, people-focused nutrition company driven by the belief that happiness and wellness go hand in hand. All of our products are created to complement today's active lifestyles, 100% organic, vegan-friendly, gluten-free. They contain no preservatives, chemicals, or artificial ingredients. For 5% off of your order, go to gogolie.com/matters. That's go.goli.com/marriage matters. Couldn't talk at the end there.
Yep. Go get your goalie.
Go get your goalie. They are delicious. Our entire family uses them, the children and all. I think one of them probably has more than 2 a day. Yeah. I'm watching her.
So back to forgiveness. So how can you forgive? So I want to end with this, that what's better than forgiving is not being offended in the first place.
Absolutely.
And what I'm learning to do is, when I am offended by something my spouse does or anybody does, my first question now is not how could they have done that or how could they have said that. My first question to myself is, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
Why am I feeling this way about A, B, and C? You know, and really processing through, because sometimes I think we get offended, but there's no reason there shouldn't, well, I'm not going to say that. We need to figure out why that's a button for us. Because if I can eliminate the buttons that people can push, then it eliminates the control that people have over me.
Absolutely.
You know?
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, that's good.
You know, so I need to just really examine that, you know, and I try, and I'm not perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I still just, you know, I'm just going to be offended about it. But for, you know, I really try.
I was just going to say, that's what I was going to say, is that offense really is a choice. You know, in a moment, you can choose to be offended by what someone does or says to you, or you can choose that, you know what, I'm just not going to even focus on that and just, you know, dust it off and keep moving. Yeah. Even if your feelings are hurt in the moment, I mean, your feelings can be hurt, but you still not take offense.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, offense
is
a choice.
Just that phrase, what you said, take offense. That means it's like offense is on the table and I'm going to take it.
Right.
Instead of saying, you know what,
I'm gonna leave it there.
I mean, there's so many things that you can, like you said it earlier, if somebody does something that kind of offends you, when they may not know they offended you. Right. That may not have been their intention. Right. They may not know any better. Right. You know, it's all these things. They may not have seen you there. You know, why didn't you speak to me? Right. Maybe they just didn't see you. Right. So it allows you to step back and really examine, you know, should I really be offended? Right. Now, don't get me wrong, that there's some things that, yes, we should be offended at. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are some things that I think it's healthy for you to, if you're not upset about those things, then that's a problem. But what I'm saying is we need to do a better job of really examining and understanding. And you, like I said, I learned this from Tanya. If you're feeling that way, the question is why. Investigate. You're feeling, you know, because your emotions are designed to move you. Emotions, the root word of emotions is motion. So it's designed to move you. And so we need to learn how to use our emotions to move us in a direction, to use our emotions to help move us to a place of more healing, more self growth, you know, because if I'm feeling that way, that means I need to grow. I still got some growing to do in that area. Yeah. And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when you were saying that we need to, you know, the root word of emotion is motion, and that we need to allow that motion to move us in a particular direction. And what I saw was that oftentimes we don't allow it to move us in a particular direction. We just allow it to move us, you know, and so we're just responding out of the movement that's happening instead of us grabbing a hold of the movement that's happening and actually allowing it to move us in a forward direction. Yeah. You know, or we allow it to move us backwards.
We just cutting each other off.
I know, right?
I don't know what's going on.
Look, he always says, jump in. So I'm jumping in. Right. So
I forgive you. But I was going to say, man, E.T., Eric Thomas said something the other day. He said that if you're aiming at the wrong target and you hit it, you still missed. So like with emotions, it's like, yeah, you're angry, but is that the end goal? Right. Is that what you want to, and you feel justified in your snubbing people. I'm not just going to speak to her. Okay, but what's the end goal here? Right. What's the end game?
What's the intention?
So, you know, with that being said, you know, to get to that point, you know, the key or the foundation for that is open, honest, frequent communication. Yes. That's the beginning of an offense-free marriage. You have to be willing to talk through it. You know, when it hurts, talk through it. When it's good, talk through it. If you have to be open and honest about all of these things. And if you can do that, not only will you be able to navigate through offense and navigate through forgiveness and unforgiveness, but you can eliminate it. I'm not gonna say altogether, but you can eliminate it a lot of the times, you know. So I just want to leave you guys with this scripture. This is Colossians 3:13 through 14. It says, make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. Look, we have to make room for each other's faults, because guess what? I know this is news to you. I know this is news to you, but you are not perfect.
Yes.
You make mistakes. You say things. You do things.
Are you kidding? Do I?
You do.
Oh, man. Thought I had it going on.
As perfect as you thought you as perfect as you think you are, you do things that are wrong. So because you have faults, we have to allow others to have them also. And allow people room. What did you say? Space?
Grace
and space.
Grace and space to grow.
Yeah, grace and space. You got to give each other, you got to make those allowances in your life and in your marriage. And if you can do that, then you can forgive. And the thing that you thought was unforgivable, it's possible. Yep. You can do it. And if you're having trouble, look, reach out to us.
Yes.
We're here to help you. We can help you talk, or reach out to someone, you know, a counselor, someone that you trust that can help you. And here's the other thing, someone that's not just going to take your side.
Absolutely.
You know, so I'm not even going to try to say them. Dave and Ashley Willis, they have, it's 4 things for people who you go to for help in your marriage. It's number 1, they love God.
People who love God. People who love you.
They love you.
They love your spouse.
And they love your marriage.
And they're for
your marriage.
Yeah.
So they love God. They love you. They love your spouse. And they're for your marriage. They want your marriage to work. So those are the qualifications. So anyway, that's all I got. That's all we have.
That's it.
So this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman reminding you that
your marriage matters.
We'll see you next week.